Hello guys, NautoAce here, and I want to give my thoughts on this controversy with Idea Factory International. And I don't know what's going on. I mean, lately, I don't think they're dropping the ball that much, but this is really interesting. I mean, if I did talk about previous Neptunia games, how they don't have a dub, of course, that's not really a controversy. It was just a business. And of course, if you know Fairy Fencer F Refrain Chord, that game also is not going to have an English dub. Unfortunately, depends on your perspective, but that'll be a different video. So what I want to give my thoughts on is credit to Veridark, Noisy Pixel, and Sensor Gaming. And that's what I found out from Sensor Gaming, is that I did notice that Neptunia Sister vs. Sister had an update. What is it? I thought it was some sort of just bug fixes or whatever. But apparently, this is just so assy. I'm sorry to say, spade of spade. This is a censor patch. I mean, oh my God. They did this before, sadly. Well, Barry Skelter too. And I know some game they did that. I know Seren Kagura Burst Renewal also had an update for censorship. And that's really unfortunate when you're updating the game due to censorship. It's kind of bullshit. You know, it's stupid. It's stupid. I don't know what's going on. Idea Factory International. You know I like your company. I support you. But what the hell? Seriously, what the hell, man? So anyway, what am I talking about? So apparently, according to Sensor Gaming, that Neptunia Sister vs. Sister is being patched to comply with the T ESRB rating. And they showed the script and they removed certain word that you're not now allowed to say it on a T rating. So I'm going to talk about that later. So this is something that's kind of weird. So I have two theories of what's going on. So theory number one could be that somebody from Idea Factory International that's working close with the ESRB, because you have to kind of explain what the game is and you have to be very transparent, very thoroughly, very, very detailed that, hey, what is your game about? If there's some language that they're going to be mentioning, you have to say it. And there's a reason why if you go to the ESRB, they kind of have a description there. And the idea is for the general consumer, not the fans. Somebody's in tune, they know what the game's about. But maybe somebody for the general consumer say, okay, what's this game about? What are the contents? So it has to be very, very detailed, very specific that what the game is. That's my one theory. Second theory is either there's some concerned parent and say, hey, look, what's going on here? This game is not what the ESRB. I think they lied. They trying to cheat. And to a point they got caught. And then the ESRB said, hey, no, you got to fix that. Or three, maybe they didn't know. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, the ESRB has a new rule that you can't say certain word. Again, what the hell there? So I'm going to give my thoughts on this three theory of what's going on. But in general, it's just bullshit. It's bullshit. Like I said, theory number one, it could be the fault of Idea Factory International. Why I say that? Well, like I said, when you are making a game for the console, one of the rules is you have to comply with the ESRB. And basically, you have to be very descriptive to what you're going to say. So if there are certain language that comes into a game, you better tell them there are certain language, such as XYZ word, and you tell the ESRB. So apparently I was reading on Reddit, and one guy said he noticed that the description with Sisters versus Sister versus Neptunia Reverse, that on Sister versus Sister, there were missing keywords such as, language. So apparently it wasn't even mentioned. So language such as, they didn't mention it. So apparently that probably threw the ESRB off. Like, hey, wait a minute. This is the description, but you're saying this word. What's going on? Why is this is not what the description say? So either somebody forgot to post the detail of the description of the game to the ESRB and you got to change it. So again, who knows? Second one is either it probably was mentioned or you don't need to mention. However, parents said, a lot of concerned parents said, hey, look, I don't like what the language here. This is what a T rating game is supposed to be. I don't like it. We're going to report it to the ESRB. ESRB said, well, you got to fix it. So again, could be concerned parent butting in where they're not supposed to. But again, who knows? And then the third one is, suddenly the rules change. But this one's going to be weird because I don't think this is not really the reason why, because it might be that there's a new rule for the ESRB. Because this happened with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate with the DLC, that with Joker, they were able to tell what the games are. But then alternately with Violet, anything that's M-rated, you cannot mention it on a E-rating trailer. I think it was 2020, they actually changed the rule that trailers are not to be rated for the general consumer, the concerned parent. Bullshit, that's what it is. But I doubt that one, because this game probably was already rated in 2022. And probably this new rule about certain words you can't be used anymore in a T-rating game probably was 2023. So that probably wasn't the case there. My guess could be one is, like I said, theory number one is somebody from Idea Factory International failed to mention all the detail about the game, so they had to change it. Or two is there are concerned parents who bought this game for their, again, kids or teen, will go with them because it's T-rated. And all of a sudden, oh, what is this language? I don't like it. Or somebody who likes the Neptunia game, but, they're righteous wannabe, so they didn't like the language, so they complained to the ESRB. Again, who knows? But unfortunately, there were some changes. So, again, why did Idea Factory International comply with this one? So this was actually tricky of why they did it. The sad part is, to some extent, is that when you do rating, when you do certification, and when you have to put it on, like, say, the PSN Store or Steam, it costs money. They're not cheap. They cost money when you do those things. And when you have to redo it, let's just say, then you got to pay again. There have been a situation where a game had to be delisted temporarily because of the ESRB rating. I remember a game in the eShop. It was a hentai puzzle game. Unfortunately, they had to remove it because what happened was the description did not match what the game, from what I understand. Someone said they failed to mention that there's nudity in the game, and they said, nope, gotta remove it because it wasn't accurate what the description is, so they removed the game. But of course, the problem is when you remove the game and reevaluate the game to the ESRB, that costs money. Yeah, putting it on the eShop, that's going to cost money because there's a fee. Oh, having it a rating board, that's money because the ESRB is not free. Even so, it's required, kind of like, a license. You got to pay the DNV. You got to pay them for a driver's license. It's not a free thing, but you're required if you want to drive a car. Same goes with the ESRB rating. If you want your games to be sold, you have to have a rating. In order to do that, you got to send it to the ESRB, and that costs money. So that's the reason why. So Idea Factory probably just said, you know what? We're just going to cut our losses and just do a censorship policy, even so it's going to make us look bad. And they rather it's a lesser two evil. That's why. So, yeah, so they said, you know what? Cut our losses, take an L. Yes, the game is ruined, but it's either that or reevaluate everything. And then they got to pay the ESRB, the PSN store, Steam store. That's going to be costing money. And then, of course, you got the physical release that you probably can get it on Best Buy, Target, GameStop, whatever. Oh, they got to be recalled. And then that costs money again. There is no refund to some extent there. A lot of time, companies, sometimes if they want their game back or they recall it, they have to pay for it. Idea Factory is not a big company, if you can tell. So they just said, you know what? We're going to cut our losses. Yeah, it's going to ruin our image, but it's the lesser of two evil. That's why. So, again, who knows what the theory behind it and why they just said, we're just going to patch it. Because it's just cheaper than redoing everything, reevaluating anything, because that's going to be costing more money. That's what I heard. So, again, it is what it is. Idea Factory International. Kind of shame on you, disappointing that this happened, but hopefully you do better next time with the next Neptunia game, because there is a new one. I'm going to give my thoughts on that one on a different video. So, yeah, so like I said, it could be, again, for a recap, one or two things. First theory is somebody from Idea Factory International failed to basically explain what the game's all about, and when the ESRB saw it, they said, hey, that's not what the game is. You kind of failed to mention a certain thing. They got in trouble, so they say either move up the rating board, which doesn't cost money if you move up the ratings. However, you want the lower common denomination, so make a Neptunia game M-rated, probably in the perspective of business, reputation, it's going to be weird. For a fan, nobody cares because remember, for the PS3, Neptunia Mark II was M-rated. And the reason why it's M-rated, because of the language in it. That's what it is. So they probably don't want to make it an M-rated. They want it to be T-rating, so at least it's going to be friendly to some extent. Or two is concerned parent button and complain to the ESRB. Again, who knows? So, update. So, I've been reading this story in the internet, and a lot of people sort of believing that it could have been Idea Factory's fault here. And here's the reason why some of them believe, and it kind of makes sense, is that in previous Neptunia game, the R-rated T, there is a keyword there that said language on the ESRB. Unfortunately, if you notice for the latest one, Sisters versus Sister, it did not have the word language. And if you go to the ESRB description, it did not mention anything about strong language. So like I said, it could have been, and I had a feeling it could be this direction, that somebody in Idea Factory International that was working with the ESRB to release the game kind of forgot to say, hey, there's some sort of strong language, and some of the characters are going to say certain word that's probably not appropriate to a T rating, but sort of like it's allowed to some extent. They forgot to mention it to a point that, I had a feeling that rather than recalling the game and resubmitting the game, whether physically or digitally, they just said, you know what, let's take that L, let's just modify the game, because it's the lesser of two evil. I mean, if you think about it in the perspective of business, if they did the other one trying to stand their ground, then they have to recall the game, they have to remove it on the digital store, and then bring it back. That costs money. And like I said before, they're not that big, so you kind of see why they probably had to go to this route. So hopefully Idea Factory International, if this is the case, hopefully the next, whether what game that's T rating, you better say that it has some strong language to some extent, because this is embarrassing. And again, my guess probably is that, again, I could be wrong, I'm just guessing, that they probably hired somebody new. Probably it's new for this person and just forgot to mention, that game has some strong language. And then when they found out that, how come you didn't say it to the game? Well, you know that this game does it. No, it doesn't matter. That's not how it works in the ESRB. You have to be very, very transparent. And if you're not, you can get a fine, you can get in trouble, and to some extent, you have a bad reputation just saying there. So, that's the update. It looks like that it is that Idea Factory International, they kind of botched up. They forgot to mention certain key thing about Sisters versus Sister, to a point that when the ESRB found out, they said, well, either resubmit or fix the game. So they just said the lesser to evil, cost less, just take that L and update the game. That's my thoughts. It sucks. We'll just have to wait and see what happened. And hopefully, maybe on stream, I know a lot of people are going to ask about it. Maybe in Discord, they'll talk about it, what's going on. But we'll just have to wait and see. So with that, I'll see you guys later.